why did we become teachers? Why did I choose to be a teacher? I could have been an engineer. I could have been a manager. I could have been a business owner. I had so many opportunities to do other type of careers and make more money. So obviously the purpose is not money. We can put that on the side. So it must be something else. I mean, to me, or for me, I felt like I have something I can give to other people. I can make connection.
I want time structured in, especially to spend time with other teachers, not necessarily like collaborating, like we're going to build this project or we're going to build that project. No, it's like I want to be able to have like think sessions. I love getting to that point where everybody can talk about things and where they start to feel safe and comfortable that their ideas aren't stupid, that they're not stupid just because they don't know about a bunch of things, that their gut reactions about their experience in the world is what counts and what can direct them. That's not something that can be packaged. It's about individual relationships and individually helping students to feel like they matter and their views matter.
What really matters to me is each individual, and that opportunity to feel empathy and to listen and to bring that child into this world that I'm trying to create. And I think the most rewarding thing about teaching is when you feel you've touched, you actually have had a true connection with another human being who just happens to be 16 or 17.
The baggage in the district bothers me, but I love the freedom that we really have when we shut that door. I never planned on being a teacher, but I love the chance to be the creativity, the freedom that I have from day to day. And when I talk to a lot of my friends doing other things, I realize I'm pretty lucky to be able to do what I'm doing. And I value the relationships. I love the community, but I also love my subject matter. And I like the bugs, I like the plants. And I really think everyone should know something about climate change and some of these other environmental issues, because they're the people who are going to go out and vote. When things go well with the class and the rapport is there, I feel almost high at the end of the day. And when things go wrong, I can be the almost, I'm maybe a little bit too tied up with how class goes. So, but I do like both. And I do, when I stop and think about it, I'm grateful that I get to do what I do.
When the classroom door shut, I'm alone with 30 people. I have this unique opportunity that not many people in the world have, and that is be with each other in kind of an intense learning environment, creating a safe environment, a trusting environment. And that to me is the beauty of teaching.
So now if you look at all these expectations of us as teachers, there are expectations from the parents, the students, fellow teachers, the administration, the district. We cannot meet all these expectations. No matter what we do, we will never be successful. But if we go back to the basic and say, are we fulfilling what we originally came in for? Are we making that connection? Are we helping that kid? We are not in here to run their life. We're not in here to dictate them. They already have that at home. They already have this with their society. We are here to give them the hope. I mean, I tell the kids, you're gonna forget the algebra. You're gonna forget all the rules and the theorems, but we don't want you to forget to think. That you can think and you can be somebody and you can be something. Don't give up. Keep trying. It's not about how much. Just keep trying, and then you're gonna be fine. You will make it. And that's, if they take this, to me, I think mission accomplished.
You go home and you feel like, okay, what I do is important. And it matters that I do this every day.
Right above me where I teach, there's a big sign, everyone makes mistakes. There's nothing wrong with making mistakes. So that's, like you were saying, bigger learning than just the equations and things.
I was just going to speak to the Common Core briefly. Among the students themselves, they now take risks with problems that in the past they would not have undertaken. They would have had this, maybe C series of problems, and they would have contributed a question mark and, submitted it the next day for homework. And that the students now are willing to engage problems they don't know how to do with a greater frequency and a greater comfort getting them wrong.
There's been a lot of baggage that has gotten carried along in our science education. And I think that there's more emphasis on big ideas and big concepts and things that are going to affect students in their futures. I do like the standards. And I have learned that when there are good standards and good tests, that's a lot easier to take than some of what we've been through recently.
Is there something qualitatively necessary and valuable about teachers generating their own standards?
Teachers working together, talking about, well, I do this, and comparing notes kind of on what is effective, best practices, and then saying, well, how do we then articulate that? I mean, how do we write a standard that says this is where we want our students to be? And just the process was valuable.
It creates the ownership, and it's harder to dismiss a standard that you yourself have written when governors of states that we will never visit come together and say we need to hire consultants to frame something for our states. It's a lot easier as a teacher to say this is they're not talking about me.
Right.
We started teaching to the standards. Instead of me teaching what I think it's good for the kids, what's appropriate, what they need, I'm teaching so I can help them pass the test, because then they came up with the benchmarks. Okay, meaning the first quarter you have to teach chapter 1, 2, 3. The next quarter you got to teach chapter 4, 5, 6, and the kids should be tested on these benchmarks. And if they don't do well, that means something's wrong with you. It's not the standard itself. It's not the content. Even though we think they're good standards, but it's going to come down to testing. That's what will determine whether you're a good teacher or not. It's how the kids perform, because they don't know what's happening in the classroom.
Whenever I hear the word standards, my eyes kind of glaze over. They haven't influenced my teaching. When I was in high school, I don't think I had a fantastic teacher for 2 years. I'm sure she never heard the word standards. But she knew what it meant to teach a good Algebra 2 class. She knew what it meant to teach a good trig class. Where did she know it from? I assume from professional discussions, from her own educational experience, from her college preparation. But she didn't need any of this overlay and all the energy and the confusion in social studies. There might be a little differences, but I'm not sure by having the standards we've eliminated the differences between what happens in our two classrooms, because we still approach things a little differently. How do you teach the Marshall Plan? They might hear something a little different from one room to another, and I don't know that we want to eliminate that. But then we're professionals, and then the students hold me accountable, and the parents hold me accountable, and the administration should hold me accountable, that they can come into my classroom at any time and see that there's something important going on.
America is still 200 years and some in trying to figure out what sort of educational system it ought to have, and the tug of war between centralized and regionally controlled is unwon.
We want the kids, but people on top, up there, I don't think they're interested in the kids' education. It's all about numbers, money, how much we can make out of this kid, how much we can make out of this school, who is designing these tests and these standards? They're not teachers.
It's just edu business. I feel like, just as business people and people at the level of capital might realize, oh, there's this whole area that we've completely ignored, that there's an enormous amount of profit to be made from, so that things continue to have to be purchased and paid for. And it's a massive industry, and I feel like right underneath our noses, in our democracy, right underneath our noses, we're losing public education.
As we sense this other model of a kind of a top-down corporate style model of leadership, what is happening to the role of a teacher, and how much are we experiencing that? Are we losing that autonomy? Do we need that autonomy?
The standards, which I like, and again, science, are not curriculum. I feel like I have choices to make in how I teach. It's kind of a guideline of where I'm going subject-wise. But I would say that what I find much more restrictive is what the district is doing. That's where the benchmark exams that you referred to earlier, those were tough on the biology teachers. This idea that if everyone's going to teach, if we have biology classes at every high school in the district, every teacher in every biology class needs to use exactly the same textbook with no regard for the individual teachers and their emphases and their priorities. I find the district much more restrictive than I do the standards themselves.
But give me the freedom to get there the way that I see fit as a profession, as a professional, working with my relationships with the students, with my peers, with my colleagues, but don't bind me. And what I have definitely seen over the last 15 years is that erosion, what I call, of trust in the teacher, that the teacher will get there. And I would say the top-down management of the district in the last 20 years has been a major shift.
Are we not at a moment where people are making decisions who never even set foot in a school building? Politicians, donors.
I feel it's always been that way. Before standards, Latin teachers have been around for about 3,000 years. And they survived the Christians, and they survived the capitalists, and I think that they will survive the Common Core as well. And it's just, blink of an eye.
It's not just about transfer of information. It's actually, I think, a more complex job to really do the guide on the side thing the way it needs to be done. You need to be negotiating and helping them negotiate between their larger society and the content information and the discipline-specific content information, as opposed to shutting the door in a negative way and pretending we don't live in that technological world that we now do.
We aren't the outside world. We are school. And the school is... its work is other things than the outside world. And so to pretend that we necessarily have to mirror what we are doing at school with what is going on outside, I think is also a false understanding.
The role of a teacher will be going away, but that's unfortunate. Technology will replace whether we like it or not. We're heading in that direction. All you have to just look around you. Each one of us, when we go home, we're going to go to that technology. We're not going to go to this
and in those really crucial moments of life, I don't turn to technology. You think about religious questions. You think about, meaning. You think about relationships. You think about your family, your friends, and there's a proposal.
We used to do that as teacher. We still do this, but now with the technology, it's becoming less and less and less. So if you want the kids to go to Khan Academy to get help on subjects, so we're telling them indirectly, you don't need me.